Yo, what's good? It's Sundial.jpg back again with another video. Just real quick, I did want to address that I did change my name on all platforms. It's no longer Admiral the Cat, it's now Sundial.jpg. If you see any old art that is labeled Admiral the Cat, that's me. I just decided to change my name, so whatever. Anyways, today I am drawing my Super Sona, which is based off of this TikTok trend that I've been seeing recently of what people would wear if they were certain comic book like characters. The most common that I've seen is Superman, but I've also seen people like the Riddler, Robin, Two-Face, and I decided on Super Sona, Superman, because I just saw the James Gunn Superman last 2 weeks? I feel like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I'm bad at time. But the point is, it was so great. I went to see it opening week with one of my friends, and like, okay, the reason why I wanted to watch it is because I've been seeing so many people like cry on Twitter, like, oh my god, it's so pro-Palestine and I hate that, like, wah, they're trying to push propaganda, blah, blah, blah. Or in turn, people saying, oh my god, I heard that was pro-Palestine, I didn't think that it was this pro-Palestine, so I decided to see it for myself, and the answer is yes, it is that pro-Palestine. I was like, there is no way in hell that this, a big Hollywood blockbuster, is pro-Palestine. Well, I'll be damned, it is! Although, to be honest, the way that I saw it was more of a generic reading of war in the Middle East. Quick warning, there's going to be so many spoilers for Superman here. So, if you haven't seen it, or if you care about being spoiled, you can leave. Anyways, in the Lex Luthor's monologue in the end, where he's like, I created the Bavarian? Baravian. He's like, I created the Baravian-Jakar conflict to fight Superman. Oh my god. I love that it was a commentary on this because, like, take for example the war in the Middle East. Obviously it was a quote-unquote war on terror that was there to quote-unquote fight terrorists. Like, that's the thing that we say and that we show as why we went to the Middle East. But it was also there because these oil conglomerates, we were there just protecting big oil, protecting, like, money, basically. And I love how it is a reading on billionaires and warmongers who intentionally escalate conflicts to sell, like, guns and more artillery. It was beautiful. It gave me so much hope. Superman, there's this scene in Superman where there is a kaiju, basically, in Metropolis, and the Justice Gang, which is Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific, who I'll talk about later, show up and they decide to kill the kaiju, where Superman is like, we could just send it to an interstellar zoo, but they kill the kaiju. There's a scene where he saves a squirrel from being trampled. Like, he saves a dog, he saves a squirrel, and he saves a little girl. And I love that his main interests were protecting life at all costs. Like, all life, not just humans, because that's so integral to me, to Superman's character, that he is there to help people. He's not there to punch bad guys. His main thing is, you know, if you are, like, scared to walk home, he'll walk you home. He's the sort of guy that you could just stop and ask for directions. That he is there to help people and not just to punch bad guys. Which is something that a lot of modern readings of superheroes sort of get wrong. They basically see helping people as the first step, and then you graduate to punching bad guys, which, yeah, go punch the bad guys, but also go help people too. That's the point of a superhero. The sort of, I believe the first action comic where Superman was in, he was in the first action comic. He's like the first superhero, basically. The first and the best. There is a part where he is, like, on the cover where he is saving somebody who is about to, like, their car is about to roll over, and he saves them. And that is the first impression that he saves people. He's not there to punch bad guys, he's there to save people. And I really like James Gunn's reading of this. So, pivoting and talking about the art. This specific pose that I did was inspired by a Superboy comic. Okay. Confession time. I don't really read a lot of comics. When I do read comics, it's usually actually Batman, because I like Batman. I got really into Batman last year, and I had such a blast reading the... Oh god, what is it called? Juniba. Come on. I can't remember what it's called. My god. Okay, hold on. Okay, so correction. It is Juniba's The Boy Wonder comic, which I am talking about. I had such a blast reading The Boy Wonder, and I read a couple of Batgirl issues, Cassandra Cain specifically. I love Cassandra. I also got through Gotham Knights, which was good. It was just good. I don't really remember what it was about, because again, it was a year ago, but I liked it. And I also like, superhero movies, comic movies. For example, I've seen Spider-Verse. I made my own Spider Sona, because of course I did. That is so old. I should redraw that. That's what I should do. I should redraw that. But, I loved the art style of The Boy Wonder, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really good. So back to the art. I had a bunch of different references. I made my own little section on, I have a specific pin board, and I have sections on them for whatever character I'm doing. So I reference like specific shoes, as you can see. I reference like Superboy comics. I had to cut out a significant portion of this because a lot of it was just me flipping through my references, because apparently OBS Studio hates me and refuses to allow me to just screen record Krita, so I have to record my whole screen. As you can see my like hotbar. I don't know what the bottom part is called. I just call it hotbar because Minecraft. But yeah, specifically for Krita, you should use the reference tool. The reference tool is one of the best that I've ever used. I used to use Procreate, and then I got a drawing tablet. I got a computer, and then I got a drawing tablet, and I have not looked back. Procreate is fine. It's not bad. But I got a drawing tablet that specifically doesn't have any screen on it, because it was cheaper. And also I don't like to crane my neck looking down. But Krita is like, it's a very complex program, but it's also just really good. So that's what I've been using recently. And the reference tool is my favorite. I believe I've used 4 programs in my life. I started out using Flip-A-Clip to draw. Good lord, those are the ancient texts. I started out using Flip-A-Clip to draw, which it's not a drawing program, so don't do that. Then I moved on to Ibis Paint, which at the time where I used it, it did not have a reference tool. And then I use Procreate, where the reference tool just sort of follows you in the corner, which is fine. It's just not the best. And now Krita, where you can literally put your reference on the screen itself and it stays put, where it doesn't cover any of your art. And I really like that. So my advice to new artists, holy shit, use the fucking references. I'm telling you, use the references. They are your best friend. I also had a lot of trouble. The learning curve on Krita is something, we'll say. It's something. I still have to look up specific things and like how to use them and where they're at. So it's definitely for professionals, but if you can, I believe it's free, but I paid like $8 on Steam sale for it. And I mean, if you can spare the money to support Krita, it's an amazing drawing software, so you should use it. Now, getting back to the Superman movie, Mr. Terrific was possibly the funniest character that I have ever seen. Like, he's great. I didn't realize until I was looking over the cast list that he actually played Darwin in X-Men, which I have feelings about X-Men because they killed off the one character. If you don't know X-Men, Darwin is a character where his ability is that he can adapt to anything. And then the supervillain killed him, and he did not adapt to anything. So I understand why the actor was very hesitant to come back to X-Men, or to come back to superheroes, but oh my god, I'm so happy he did, because he is absolutely amazing as Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific is... I don't even know what his superpower is other than he's a genius, okay? Because he has the T-spheres, but obviously he built those. And then he has his, like, ride, his chair, and he built that. And then, like, everything he did, he built. So I guess his superpower is literally just that he's smart. I need to read over the comics. But yeah, he's absolutely hilarious. His fight scene where there's just this song, fun, 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 playing in the background is diabolical. Like, oh my god. I love how it's also somewhat of a commentary of how these people are complacent. Like, yeah, he could have just taken out the armed guards, but he went for everybody, because there were people just sitting on that beach knowing probably that there were people in cages in a sort of pocket universe, I believe. Pocket universe where they're just in cages and in prison. And that's another thing that I like about this Superman movie, how it's a commentary on so many things, but also like the private prison system and how they just sort of lock people away and ignore them, even though, take for example, during COVID, a significant amount of number of COVID cases were in prisons, and nobody cared because they were prisoners, even though in the US at least, most prisoners are there for non-violent offenses such as like drugs or stealing, and how the US is over-policed, and they do that intentionally because prison labor is slave labor. We didn't see any of them doing labor in the Superman movie, but like I feel like you could expand on that, you know? So yeah. So what I'm doing right here is a technique that I learned with coloring specifically, when I do traditional art, I don't color things. When I do digital art, I do. That's the entire reason why I do digital art. But my suggestion is you should turn your screen to grayscale. I didn't realize that OBS Studio would record in grayscale, which is an amazing thing. I have no qualms about that. Thank you, OBS Studio. Turn your screen to grayscale so that you can check the values of what you're coloring so that everything doesn't just sort of muddle together. Make sure that there are distinct values to everything that you draw so that it doesn't look boring. I also just straight up said, you know what, we're not gonna do grayscale, we're going to actually color things in gray and then figure things out from there, which is what I'm doing right here. You can see my computer's not in grayscale, but all my coloring is in grayscale, which is another alternative if you can't turn your like phone, laptop, whatever, into grayscale. You should though. It should be in accessibility settings, but I don't know how other people's phones work, so, you know. I feel like such a fangirl every time that I talk about Superman, mostly because, like, this movie then inspired me to pick up comics again, and not only am I reading Absolute Superman and Batman, which, Absolute Superman is basically what if Superman was a lot older when he, you know, when Krypton exploded and he came to Earth. I believe he's in his teenage years when he comes to Earth. And it's very interesting how it changes him. Like, he's the same Superman, Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow Superman, but also his experiences on Krypton affect him. He's also got a talking suit, which is cool. I'm not very far into Absolute Superman or Batman. I'm on issue 2 of both of them because I'm reading them at the same time. But also, speaking of Superman, I'm currently reading Kryptonite Spectrum, which is basically a what if Superman was in an abusive relationship with his own planet. He's sort of obsessed with kryptonite because I believe the first words in the comic are, "My planet was destroyed before I had object permanence." So he doesn't remember anything about his planet. He doesn't really know anything about Krypton, and that is the reason why he's so obsessed with the kryptonite. There's a bunch of new variants of kryptonite, and he's been testing them out instead of throwing them away. And I think in the comic he's sort of trying to convince himself, like, I'm doing this because it's a good idea to test things before bad actors get them. Like for Lex Luthor, it's a good idea to test them before Lex Luthor gets his hands on them so that I can respond and adapt when I know what's actually happening instead of doing that in the moment. But to me, what I'm reading in the comic is more along the lines of, I don't want to throw away the kryptonite because it's one of the few connections I have to my home planet, and I'm afraid of giving it up. That's sort of what it reads like to me, at least to me. I'm so excited for the new issue. That's what they're called, issues. I'm so excited for the new issue of Kryptonite Spectrum. It comes out in, let's see, 3 weeks. Comes out in 3 weeks. Good lord. Can't fucking wait. I'm also recording this part of the voiceover about 3 weeks to a month after I recorded the first half. I can't remember what James Gunn's Superman is about. I have a very bad memory, and I forgot to write it down in my letterboxd. I'm also recording this at, it is 3:01 a.m. I just got finished reading Act 2 of Homestuck. That's another video that I need to do. Homestuck. Yeah, you guys get the point. Go watch Superman. It's really, it's phenomenal. So after 9/11, superhero movies got super popular because they were sort of a collective what if, sort of what if superheroes were there to prevent this tragedy. So we get a lot of superhero movies like the Sam Raimi movies, which I believe the first one came out in like 2005. Then we've also got the Marvel movies, which came out later and more along the background of the war on terror. For example, the first Iron Man movie literally has him as a warmonger. He's in, I believe, Afghanistan or Iraq, and he's, selling weapons, and that leads to him becoming Iron Man. And that's along that time was more of a commentary of like, what if we had superheroes and they could fix 9/11? And then we get superhero fatigue, and it's more along the lines of evil Superman. Let's do evil Superman, which is more along the lines of like the social commentary that we're getting along the time. That's late 2010s, early 2020s, along like with The Boys, for example. That's along the background of Black Lives Matter and the rising awareness of police brutality. And superheroes are sort of seen as cops, but if they were superheroes. And then we got tired of evil Superman, and now we have hopeful Superman again. And I'm so happy about that, because Superman and superheroes are there to help you. They are not the cops. They are neighborhood watch. That's why Spider-Man is called the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's why Superman, you can like stop and ask for directions and he'll give them to you, and like he'll walk you home if you're drunk. That sort of thing. I'm getting a little emotional, as you can tell. I really, really love superheroes, and I really, really love Superman. I'm gonna stop now and focus on the art. I'm doing my shading right now. I also learned this way to shade recently, where you basically take your flat colors and you color shift them, and then you clip them to all the places that you want to shade, so that, your shading doesn't get too muddied in with the flat colors, and everything has its own specific shading value, instead of, working only on blue, which will be difficult if your character is very blue. And if you shade on red, it'll be very difficult if your character is all red. So, you can see what I'm doing right now. I was struggling with it a little bit, but, yeah. This is basically the end of the video. You should watch Superman 2025. It's really good. Go into your local neighborhood and go help people, okay? That's all I have to say. Goodbye.